The same pleading tone filled her messages. "Please, I know we can't undo the past, but we need you." I grinned. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into. The phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with another message from Mom. "Please, I'm begging you, we don't know where else to turn." I stared at the words, my finger hovering over the screen. A part of me wanted to ignore it entirely. Hadn't I already given them my answer? Hadn't I made myself clear? And yet, there was something about the desperation in her tone that made me hesitate. For a second, I shook my head. No, I wasn't going to soften. I wasn't going to be the one to make their lives easier again. The thing is, I had built something for myself. My empire, so to speak. And my success? It wasn't just about the money. It was about power. The power to decide who got to be a part of my life. And my family? They didn't deserve that privilege anymore. I set the phone down, walked to the window, and looked out at the city. From this vantage point, everything felt small, distant. The struggles of my old life felt like they belonged to someone else, someone weaker, someone forgotten. I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't their burden. And yet, the messages kept coming. I took a slow breath, steadying myself. I wasn't going to give in. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me with their guilt. And yet, deep down, there was a flicker of something. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something darker. But I resisted. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone vibrating on the nightstand. Again. A quick glance at the screen told me it was from my sister. I hesitated. Should I even bother reading this? Before I could stop myself, my thumb swiped across the screen. Her message was waiting. "I know I can't change the past, but I've been trying so hard to get into college. They rejected me. And now Mom's saying that if we don't get the money for the retake, I'll never make it. Please, please. I'm so sorry." I felt a pang of something unfamiliar. Not sympathy, not guilt. Something else. Something that made me pause. Was this real? Was this really my sister begging me? Or was she just playing her part? I took a deep breath, my hand shaking as I typed my response. "You never cared when I needed you. Why should I care now?" I hit send, and for some reason, the weight that settled in my chest felt heavier than I expected. There was a part of me that felt cold, detached, a protective armor I had built over the years, but another part of me? It wanted to believe her, but I couldn't. I wouldn't. As the day went on, I tried to push it aside, focus on my work, keep moving forward. But no matter how much I tried to ignore it, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Not yet. I wasn't just going to forget. I wasn't their savior. With a deep exhale, I typed, "You had your chance, I'm done." I hit send, and something inside me cracked. I knew I had made the right choice. But at the same time, there was this lingering ache in my chest. Because deep down, I couldn't help but wonder, what if? What if this was their last cry for help? What if they really were suffering? But in the end, I had learned one thing. I couldn't fix them. They were beyond saving. And if they wanted anything from me, it had to be on my terms. I set my phone down and tried to forget about them. But the next evening, as I was sitting in my living room, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, I heard it. A knock. Sharp. Quick. Followed by a pause. I looked up, frowning. Who the hell could that be? I stood up, my stomach twisting as I walked toward the door. Something didn't feel right. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Peering through the peephole, my stomach dropped. There they were, Mom, Dad, and my sister, standing on my doorstep. They looked like they hadn't slept in days. Faces pale, drawn. But it wasn't just their appearance that made my pulse quicken. It was the fact that they had shown up here. Uninvited. I froze, unsure of what to do. Part of me wanted to ignore them, to turn around and walk away, pretend I hadn't seen them. But the rage I had been bottling up came surging forward. I wasn't about to let them invade my space. Not after everything. I unlocked the door and cracked it open, just enough to see them fully. My heart was hammering. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice low, shaking with anger. Mom stepped forward first, her eyes wide with desperation. Please just hear us out," she pleaded, her voice trembling. I stared at her. The same woman who had once told me she'd be better off without me, who had shoved me aside time and time again. And now? Now, she was standing on my doorstep. begging for help. I scoffed. What the hell are you doing here? I repeated, my tone rising. You think just because you show up at my door, I'm going to take you back? You think I'm just going to forget everything you did? Dad shifted uncomfortably behind her, but he didn't speak. My sister stood next to him, eyes on the ground, avoiding my gaze. We're sorry, Mom said, her voice breaking. I said nothing. She swallowed hard. We've been trying to reach you, but we know we messed up. This is just, she exhaled shakily. It's just so hard, and we don't know what else to do. You're the only one who can help us. The only one who can help you. The words slammed into me like a gut punch. And with them, all the anger, all the resentment came rushing to the surface. You didn't need me before. Why now? My voice was cold, sharp. You had years to fix this, years, and you never once bothered to reach out to make things right. Not when it mattered. I shook my head. And now? Now you think you can just show up here and make everything okay? Silence. For a moment I thought I saw Mom flinch. Her eyes welled with tears. But I couldn't bring myself to care. We've been struggling, she whispered, her voice barely audible. We don't have money for rent. Your sister's future is slipping away. I don't know what else to do. I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. Don't tell me you don't know what else to do, I snapped. My voice was shaking now, but not with sadness, with fury. You had choices, you made choices, and I wasn't part of them. I stepped forward, my grip tightening on the edge of the door. But now that everything's falling apart, I exhaled sharply. Suddenly, you want me. Mom took a step forward, her hand outstretched. Please, just listen. I slammed the door in her face. The sound echoed through the house, a sharp, final punctuation to years of pain. For a moment, a rush of power surged through me. For the first time in my life, I was in control. But as I stood there, hand resting on the door handle, something gnawed at me. It wasn't guilt. It was something worse. The realization that they hadn't come here to make things right. They hadn't come because they were sorry. They had come because they had nowhere else to turn. They needed me. And I hated it. The anger wasn't the only thing burning inside me. A part of me wanted them to hurt, to feel, truly feel the weight of what they had done, to know what it was like to be cast aside. And the fact that they thought they could just show up here after everything, it made my blood boil. I turned and walked away, leaving them standing on the other side of the door. But they didn't leave. I could hear them talking, their muffled voices leaking through the cracks. Mom was pleading. My sister was crying. Dad was murmuring something, his voice weary, drained. I clenched my fists. I couldn't stand it. The desperation, the audacity, the sheer, unbelievable entitlement. I whipped the door open. They were still there. Mom's eyes were red, her hands clasped together as if in prayer. My sister stood beside her, head bowed in shame. And Dad, he looked like a man who had lost everything and didn't know how to get it back. I let them stand there in silence. Let them sit in the mess they had made. Let them feel what it was like to be left outside. And then I spoke. It was quiet, steady, but it hit like a slap. You don't get to come here and expect forgiveness just because you're struggling now. Mom flinched. You had years to fix this, years to realize what you lost. But you didn't care then, and I'm not going to be your solution now. Mom's lips parted, about to argue, but I held up a hand. No, you don't get to speak. You don't get to explain, because I already know the truth. I took a breath, forcing my voice to stay calm. I built my life from the ground up, without you, despite you, and I am not going to let you drag me back down. Their eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, just a quiet, undeniable satisfaction. Go, I said simply. Fix your own mess. I'm done with that. And with that I shut the door, for good. Weeks passed, my life went on, my business grew, my network expanded, and for the first time in forever I felt free. I never heard from them again. No calls, no messages, nothing. And you know what? That was fine. It was a quiet peace I hadn't even realized I had been craving. And as time went on, I came to understand something important. The people who hurt you, the people who abandoned you, they are not the ones you should be looking to for validation. You are the one who matters. You are the one who gets to decide your future. And in the end, I had learned one very simple truth. You can't keep giving to people who never gave you anything back. The door had closed, and this time, it stayed closed.